Hello everybody. Please remember to fill out the top of your paper, your name, and the date, whichever day you're taking it. Today we're going to be talking about ordering and comparing rational numbers. So similar to what you did in a previous lesson, except now we're ordering and comparing and writing inequalities. So the first part, it says graph the number 7 and its opposite on the number line. So here is 7, and we learned that the opposite would be the same number but on the opposite side of 0, so -7. These are two different places on the number line, 7 and -7. And then it says to graph -5 and its opposite. So 5 and its opposite, -5. And I'm going to say this again in a little bit, but remember when you're plotting points, you are using that filled in circle right on the line. That's how you plot points. All right, where does 7 lie in relation to 5? So it's to the right or left. Well, here's 7, so it is to the right of 5, and 7 is greater. Where does the opposite of 7 lie in relation to the opposite of 5? It is to the left. And we know, I hope, you know that -7 is less than -5. So -5 is greater than -7. So a really important part to this unit is, I want you to write this in the second column, the further to the right a number is, the greater it is. So it gets tricky with those negatives. We are really good with positives, but it gets tricky with those negatives. So you're going to be writing inequality statements. Inequality, we have that word equal in there, but they're not necessarily equal. You probably talked about these in elementary school, like with the Pac-Man or the alligator. The open mouth always points to the greater number. So just to remind you of what the inequality symbols look like, this one is less than. This one we read greater than. When it has a line under it, so it's the less than, or equal to. And this one is greater than or equal to. For these comparisons, you're probably going to be using the less than and the greater than. Maybe you'll have equal to, but it might be just the equal to. All right, so write an inequality statement that compares these numbers. So 7, we already talked about, is greater than 5. I want to erase that 7. So I'm going to put, because it's written out for us, we know the 7 is first, and the opening is going to go towards that bigger number. So we're going to use the 7, and we read this, 7 is greater than 5. Here, the -7 was less than -5. And I hope you're not just writing down, I hope you're really listening to what I say, because it's important you know how to read it. So we read it as 7 is greater than 5. All right. The record low temps for a town in Maine for January is negative 20 degrees Fahrenheit, and for February it's negative 19. So over here I'm going to say use a number line if needed. So I know if I had a number line and this was 0, and I'm not going to number all the way by ones, but I do know that I would have a negative 10, negative 20, and we talked about how the further to the right, the greater the number. The greater the number. So negative 19 would be right there because it is only 19 spaces away from 0. So we know that negative 19 is greater than negative 20. We could also write it as negative 20 is less than negative 19. So we find our numbers. Jan's time for running is 9.2 minutes. Jackie's time is 9.18 minutes. So I'm going to write down my numbers. And with decimals, you look at, so the 9 is the same in both. So these are the same. So you're going to look at the first digit that's not the same. 2 is greater than 1. So 9.2 is greater than 9.18. This next question, it doesn't say to write an inequality symbol. It says to order them from least to greatest. So I have my 3 numbers. They're playing a card game. Here are my 3 numbers. Least to greatest. Well, I know that I have 2 negatives, so 0 is going to be my greatest. And then again, use that number line if you need to. If this was 0, negative 1, negative 2, negative 3, negative 4, negative 5, negative 6, negative 7, the further to the right, the greater the number. So negative 5, negative 7, from least to greatest. So again, think of money. If you owed $7, you would owe more than if you owed $5. Or negative 7 degrees is less than negative 5 degrees. All right, so here it says from least to greatest again. So I'm going to find my negatives first. They both have 2 in common, but then this one would have like a 0 compared to this one. So the negative 0.21 is further away from 0. So that is going to be less than negative 0.2. Then the next 2 are really a little tricky. We're going to have to do some work. I know that 1/4 is the same as 0.25, but I'm not sure about this 4/15. So I know that 4/16 is exactly 4.25. So in my mind, I think that 4/15 is greater than that. But I'm going to double check it by doing some division over here. We want to know how many times 15 goes into 4. So we have to add we need to add our 0 and our decimal. 15 goes into 42 times. And then we have to bring down another 0. I know my 15 facts because I used to sell ice cream for 15 cents when I was 5 years old. And I know that 15 times 5, 15 times 5 is 75. So if I'm adding one more 15, that would be 90. And I don't have 0 yet, but I do know that this number would be a 6. And there's more numbers that come after, but I don't have to do any more work because I know that 6 is greater than 5. So my 1/4 will be next, and then my 4/15 is the greatest. Lastly, unlike the last time you were ordering, we're just going to guesstimate. We know that negative 2.5, so this would be like negative 1, negative 2, halfway between is our negative 2.5. So I'm going to put that closed circle, and I'm going to put negative 2.5 up here. 3 and actually I'm going to do the negative next. 5/8. If it was 4/8, that is exactly 1/2. So that would be negative 2.5. 5/8 is 5/8 is going to be further away. So we know that it'd be about right there because 5/8 is further away from 0 than 1/2. And then my 3.25. So 1, 2, 3. We know this is 3. I have 3 1/3 and 3.25. So this halfway in between would be exactly 3.5. 3.25 is halfway between there. And 1/3 I know is 0.3 repeating. So it's going to be a little bit further than 3.25. All right. Thanks for listening. Keep these out while you're working on your assignment. Peace out.